Okay, so this experiment was on evaluating gender differences in sound perception, and our purpose was to figure out if certain sounds have a different effect on each gender and to see if they have different psychological reactions to these sounds.
In order to do this, we chose sounds that we thought appealed more to males, and then we chose sounds that we thought appealed more to females.
The first sound we chose was a crying baby. We thought that women would not mind it as much as men, but both average answers were 1, so they equally disliked the sound. The next sound, a car engine revving, was meant to appeal to males. Their average rate was 10, and surprisingly, most females answered 1. We thought the sound of a vacuum would get more negative reviews from males than females. Our results proved that this was true because most men rated it a 1, and women gave it a 2. One of the neutral sounds was chains jingling, which turned out as we expected, with both averages being 5. Another neutral sound was that of the ocean, or waves, which we predicted would receive highly positive emotions from both genders. Again, we were correct, and most of our subjects rated this a 10.
One of our more surprising results came with the sound of a skateboard. We believed men would be more positively affected than women. However, it turned out that more women found this sound to be more pleasurable, perhaps because they find it more attractive. The sound of a gunshot was meant to be biased towards men, and we believe that in fact it was, with the male average being 5 and female being 1. The sound of food sizzling or cooking was thought to be a gender-neutral sound. And we discovered that everyone loves food because both the average answers were 10. A laughing baby we thought would entice more pleasure in women because of the maternal instincts, but it turned out that the score was even with the 10s across the board. The sound of a punch had the effect we expected because men gave it higher ratings than women.
The sound of metal scraping was meant to have negative reactions from both genders, and it did because both genders' averages were 1. The next sound, a phone ringing, showed that in general, women are more positively affected by this than men, with averages of 7 for females and 5 for males. The sound of footsteps was meant to have a negative effect on women because they're so often taught to have their guard up and that they're not safe. However, we found that most women gave it a higher rating than most men. The sound of a twig snapping was meant to be negative for both genders, but we found that most people surveyed rated it as a 5. We thought that men would be less irritated by snoring, but we found that they were even ratings of 1 for this sound. The sound of a rainstorm was a gender-neutral sound with extremely positive effects, and the majority of all subjects gave it a 10. We thought that the sounds of weights clinking would be more liked by males, and we were correct because the male average was 5 and the female average was 2.
A bottle uncorking was meant to be a gender-neutral sound, and it was, but we were surprised that it received such positive ratings. Both of the genders' averages were 10. We inferred that the sound of heels clacking would be more enjoyed by women, and our results proved that this because the majority of females rated it as 8.
A laughing baby we thought would entice more pleasure in women because of the maternal instincts, but it turned out that the score was even with the 10s across the board. The sound of a punch had the effect we expected because men gave it higher ratings than women.
So our results showed that most of our predictions were correct and that in fact sounds do affect each gender differently. The end.